You know, obviously, President Trump has given lots of addresses to the country, and there have been lots of exchanges with the press, planned and unplanned. But for an Oval Office address, that's significant, the first of his presidency. And that is something that gets this next fellow's attention, historian Doug Wead. Doug, as far as Oval Office addresses, I was startled yesterday. I remember when we first heard about this, that it would be the president's first from the Oval Office. Ronald Reagan had 33 from the Oval Office. You know, Barack Obama 3. It depends on the president, but a lot of them in double digits when it comes to number of addresses from that august room. Why is that a big deal?
Yeah, well, it was a big deal because originally television was controlled by government in France and Britain and other places. And in the dawn of television in America, Eisenhower cut a deal. He said, okay, you guys, Sarnoff, Paley, we'll let corporations own television, and they're accountable to no one but their stockholders. We'll allow that. But when the government wants TV, you give it to us. And Paley and Sarnoff said, oh, absolutely, Mr. President. So that was the deal. And when the president gave a speech, Eisenhower, then later young, sexy Kennedy, when they gave a speech, America was united. That was our president. You couldn't turn to football or cartoons. You had to watch, the whole country had to watch the president, and there was no choice.
And you think about it, an Oval Office address is meant to unify a nation, right? Whether it's President Bush after 9/11, you know, President Kennedy in the middle of the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's great gravitas to that, right?
Absolutely, and it did unify the nation. Now, by the time Reagan came along, there was more diversity, and the media was much more aggressive, and so Reagan's speeches were bracketed on either side by these tearing apart of the speech. Now, the president's going to say this, and he's going to use this, and that's a wrong statistic, and then after it was over, they'd tear it to pieces again. So Reagan had to thread a needle. He had to somehow communicate in between those brackets to the public. There was no fair and balance. There was no Fox that would show different opinions. And he had to somehow speak to the Americans in that brief period before it got taken away. So it was a superb high-wire act.
You know, it's interesting, too. We usually associate opposing party responses to a presidential address to something like a State of the Union address, although at times presidential speeches have prompted a Democratic response, whether it would be on the Iran-Afghan war back in 2007, or the responding to President Obama's healthcare speech back in 2009. So there is some precedent to this, but not much. What do you make of the fact that you're going to have two people responding to the president, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, a little later?
Yeah, that's interesting to me. Over the years, as you know, we've had laws passed. We had the Fairness Doctrine, we had equal access, and it just got out of hand. Somebody could make a comment on radio. You had to let somebody else come on and make a comment if it's pro-abortion or pro-life or whatever it may be. Back and forth it went. So they changed a lot of that. They still try to control and influence TV through the FCC, the number of stations that a company can own, but crony capitalism allows the big corporations to cheat in that regard as much as they can. The biggest development has been Fox News, has been the free market and the audience that you've been able to pull here. And now I notice Fox is moving into new territory. It is truly fair and balanced. So in the evening, you've got one conservative show, one libertarian show, but during the day, you've got people with diverse opinions. That's very healthy, I think, but that's going to take a big share of the market.
The bottom line is we have plenty of time, news networks, to cover it all. The good, the bad, the ugly, the conservative, whatever you want to say. Thank you very, very much, my friend. It's always good seeing you. Historian extraordinaire, Doug Wead.